We good?
Yep.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. I make a motion, we adopt the agenda with adding an item number 20 for audit services.
Second, aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Delegation.
Delegation. Oh, no.
Delegation.
No.
Organization of board officers. Start off with election of president.
I'd like to nominate Jay Bailey.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Election of vice president. I would nominate Kelly Bowen.
I'll second it.
All those.
Aye.
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 Appointment of district treasurer would be Pam Whitmer. We don't need motions on these.
No, those are appointments, just appointments.
Appointment of board clerk would be Patty Brenner. Appointment of deputy clerk, Michelle Martin. Appointment of attorney would be Michael Kaufman and KSB. This is actually a motion.
No, just establish that.
So establish the regular board meeting date and time, which is the second Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. at the USD 420 High School Media Center. I'm assuming we don't want to change that.
No, you don't want to change that.
Designated depositories, all banks in Osage City. Designated official district newspaper, Osage County Herald Chronicle. Appointment of representative matters pertaining to federal funds, be the superintendent. Appointment of Capers representative, Patty Brenner. Appointment of truant officer for USD 420 for the 21-22 school year would be the principals. The adoption of, this is a motion. It's not-
Yeah, this will have to be a motion.
So I make a motion, we adopt the resolution for the school term 21-22 for the 11-16 hour resolution.
Second, aye.
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 The home rule. I would make a motion that we approve the home rule resolution as presented.
Second, aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. I would make a motion to adopt, shall waive the requirement of general accepted accounting principles and fixed asset accounting.
Second, aye.
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 Adoption for rescinding policy statements found in board minutes. I'd make that motion.
Second, aye.
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 Appoint special board, education board representative. Brent, you up for that again?
I'll do it again, yeah.
And first alternate, Kelly or Kat? Anybody?
I guess I will.
Second alternate, I guess I'll put myself down as second alternate unless somebody else wants to do it.
Who's first, Brent? Second is
Kelly.
Kelly.
Appoint a recreation commission, I don't know who we've ever put in that position.
No.
I'll do that one.
Oh,
Oh, you
dang
wanna do
it.
that?
I was going for it, but.
Corey Lane. Appoint site-based council board representatives, elementary school, Cat Bellinger, middle school.
Dave volunteered for high school unless somebody else wants it.
I'll do middle school.
Kelly and Dave. Appoint the community foundation representative, who did it this year.
I did it.
You wanna do it again?
We can do it till January. Put in some money after that. I go off in January, so
No, yeah, no,
I'll be there anyways, cause I'm an individual member now, so.
Appoint professional development council board representative, who does that?
I do that. I did it last year. It was riveting.
Learned a lot. Kelly going.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Yeah.
Which is. got that all over there. I'm all here. Still waking up. Correspondence.
We had one thank you from the Shirley Homewood family, acknowledges appreciation for your kindness and generosity that would have touched Mother's heart, as it did ours. Thank you, Mary Lou and John and family.
Treasurer's report.
Okay, let's move on back to that. Treasurer's report. Look at the first page of the treasurer's report. We had a lot of money come in at the end of the year from the state and in June and in July. The July money should have been here in June, but they're always late getting it to us. So you see in the general, there's some special ed flow through that came through, $227,000. There was on 6/17 we had $441,000 from the state. Then again on June 24th we had $108,000, and then on the 30th of June there was an additional $321. So a lot of that money came in late. Supplemental general, LOB, same thing. County treasurer, that we got the county money there late in June, or at least on June 7th, and then some more again on July 24th. Or
So,
June 24th,
Does that money go into last year's budget or this year's budget?
last year's budget.
All through June is
Yes.
last year.
Yes, yes. Same thing in capital outlay, we saw money come in there, food service from the state of Kansas, some money, and then special ed, there's that flow through. We did draw down some ESSER, you see ESSER 2 over there, we've added that, we've drawn down some of the ESSER to pay for things like summer school and that's one of them. I can't remember everything. I think we bought some computers, and I'd have to go back and look at that, but some of that ESSER money, we haven't drawn it down, all of it yet.
And ESSER 1 money's gone,
Yeah,
right?
we've spent all of our ESSER 1 money, and ESSER 2. Second page, you see on the bond and interest, we got bond money on June 7th, and then we also got some title money. That was on the 7th also. Okay, payment of the bills, we'll go through, there's a lot this time, I'll try to hit the ones that I highlighted anyway. ACT Aspire on the first, very top page, we're paying for that for the upcoming year. Actually, I think that's payment for this last year, we pay that at the end of the year. Second page, Century Business, we had some copy overages.
What is that?
That just means we went over the totals we were supposed to have.
Is that for a month or for a year?
For a year, yeah. That could be color copy or mostly color copy is what happened, but it could be black and white also. Edgenuity down there, towards 2/3 towards the bottom. That's what we use for credit recovery. A lot of these are purchases for this year. Page 3, you see Haskins charges there. They're doing our bus inspections, so there's some of that is covered there. $3,000. That's why we have a little more money at Haskins right now. A little bit further down, you'll see a huddle purchase. That's what all of our coaches use. Pretty much everybody in the state uses huddle anymore for their film and all that.
On the cameras, how many internal
Yeah,
went out
one up.
through McCoy? Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm not there
I haven't
yet.
got
Okay.
into that one yet.
I'm down there yet. I'll get there. Huddle, we went to, we went past Huddle.
New huddle, got it.
Kerp, that's our property insurance. That's a big one. At the end of the year,
Who's that go
$125,000.
to?
Who does it go to? That stands
Yeah,
for,
what is that company called? Is
it's,
that KSB?
it's part of KSB, but it's not, it's Kansas Educational
But this is the one where they put this program
Yeah, it's a
together.
group.
How much did that premium go up from last year?
I wanna say
Looks like a lot.
15,000 maybe,
How
10
much?
or 15,000. I'd have to go back and look, Jay. It went up some, yeah. It did go up.
I was
It
thinking
went-
it went way up, so.
We've seen bigger jumps than that, but it did go up substantially, yeah.
I thought we were hoping that it to go down because more schools would be in it.
We did get a lot more schools in it, but it's not going down.
I'm curious the reasoning, I mean, that's a lot. I mean,
So I was thinking last year when we talked about it, was the more schools we got, the cheaper this would get, and I think it's going the other way.
Yeah, we'll have to watch it. I mean, if it doesn't, you know,
What is our timing to have to say, we're in, we're out, we're gonna check something else out for next year, obviously we've already
we
paid
would
for this year.
wanna do that after the first of the year, start putting it out.
I was just curious if there's.
There's only about 2 people in the game anymore that I know of, and that's the one who we were with before, which is
EMC.
EMC, and they're dropping a lot of schools.
They're
So they're-
dropping it, so we're not
This
really getting.
schools,
so
insurance
schools-
is not a not a lot of companies there anymore,
So
so
their rates weren't quite that high, I don't think. I'm going by memory here, cause I
Yeah,
remember that.
it was when we got out, it was higher, a little bit higher than this.
Oh, was it?
When we got out several years ago, it's taken a while to get up here.
Because we were the first, part of the first group of schools.
We were with Wright Insurance, remember? It was Wright, and then,
Yes,
Wright,
Cause KSB, we
Stop.
just joined into that one like a year or two ago.
yes, when Wright stopped doing it.
oh, because Wright stopped doing it and then
And
the
then
other
they
guy.
joined into this current group, yeah.
Okay.
McCoy's, see there, we did use some ESSER money, we do have teacher laptops coming, I don't know if they're all ready yet or not. We bought some interactive TVs for some of the people who don't have those yet, and some surveillance upgrades on those cameras. You were asking me something there, Corey.
Yeah, on the cameras, how many cameras does 11,200?
They're like $500 a piece, I wanna say. I'd have to go back and look at exactly how many we bought.
And is that basically for either?
Some of them are interior, some of them are exterior, and some of I think the exterior are more expensive than the interior because of the resolution. But I mean, I'd have to go back and look to see exactly, I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how many that is.
Well, are these all replacement or we actually have
They're
more?
replacing.
Okay, I didn't know if we'd actually have any
Older
more
ones.
of the interior
No.
since we've had issues.
I take that back, some of them are additional, but some of
Okay.
them are replacement.
Did they install them or did we?
Andy installed
So
some.
the
of those, or
11,000
Andy.
is just the cost of the
That's just the
cameras.
cost, and then our guys install them. Yep. We've got some, like outside this gym door, we need to put one. And I think there's some outside the elementary, there's a few and some that need to be replaced.
So are these, all those included, or are there still more coming?
That isn't all of them that we wanna replace,
Okay.
but we didn't get them all. The last one on that list is McGraw Hill, and I think that is middle school science curriculum. Page 4, top of the page, Moby Max licensing for upcoming year. Down towards the middle of the page, it looks like Project Lead the Way, that's some engineering I don't think it's software, it's like a program for Brock Baxter's area. Savas Learning down a little bit further, that's 6th grade world history curriculum and high school science curriculum. Both. Page 5, you see at the top, Southeast Kansas Education, those are Greenbush expenditures, and we did use some ESSER money on some of those, not all of them applied to Greenbush. Some of them did work. And then going down to the bottom, United Access of Kansas City, that's the wheelchair lift that we put in. And then the last one is advanced title, and that was purchase of a lot over here. Any other questions there?
I have one.
Yeah.
You already know what my question is.
Yeah.
We talked about this on Friday. And I don't see a bill on here, but the whatever we did with copy machines.
Copy machines, we did bid out our copy machines this year, and we got a good deal on that. What we did, if you notice, there was an overage on our copy counts. But Andy bid these out. We adjusted our copy counts on the new bid so that we wouldn't have as many overages. The black and white, the color, and the black and white prints. But what we had is, when we adjusted that, we used what they call the, what's that called? Paper cut to look to see where we had overages and what kind of things we did. So we adjusted that on our new bid. So we bid two companies that were the very most aggressive. Last time, the other companies were so much higher. They were significantly higher than the two companies that we bid this time, which is Toshiba and Century United, which we had before. Century United's the company we had now, and Toshiba's the other company. Because the copy count has been adjusted, we feel like that will be potentially a money savings for us. The bid came in really well. Also, these are new machines. So Toshiba was significantly lower.
What was the bids?
The base bids was 24,630 for Century Business, and Toshiba was 17,898. Now we had to also add, part of that was paper cut. Both of them would add that, so that came into play, and that added, but Toshiba was significantly cheaper. The reason that Century United, they got out of the used business, and that's been a problem for us with them. The used copiers is, we're always having breakdowns, and service is really important too. And with both of these companies, we've had good service with Century United, we just had to have it a lot. Toshiba, with the new machines, we don't feel like we'll have that problem. Century United, the reason they're higher, I think, this time than they were last time by quite a bit, is they don't want to do the used machines anymore.
What kind of warranty is, do we have on those?
I can tell you the warranty off the top.
Excuse my ignorance on our copiers, so I don't
We
know.
have
Do
like,
we rent them or do we buy them?
it's a lease,
A lease
so
then.
5 years, it's
Okay,
over
it's a
5
lease,
years.
okay.
So these, okay.
So
So that-
$18,000 a year for 5 years.
Actually, we added a couple of things after the bid process. We did add, what did we add? It was,
So that number includes actual making the copies, so last year we,
yes.
probably because we made all those copies for
Last year, our
kids.
actual cost was $21,778 when our bid for that time frame was $17,000,
And the actual cost was what?
like $21,778.
Because in that 4,000 is the overage,
Because
because
the
we made
overage.
more copies.
Yeah, and this,
Could we get that out of ESSER money, considering it was probably for packets for at-home kids?
could, possibly.
I don't know
You're
where
talking about for the overage,
the overage, I mean,
which was the 4,000.
yeah.
It's possible.
So what's their overage cost if we go over with them?
Well, I've got some information here. The overage costs on, you can look at this, here, I've got copies if you want to see them. The overage cost, this kind of explains that, in it, with our bids there. The overage cost is at the bottom for both companies, 0.0069 for black, for Century Business, color print was 0.049. and black print was 0.01. So you can see where those go. We don't feel like we're gonna have near the overages, because if you look at the requested contract in the middle, we've adjusted that from, at the very top part is what our current contract was. The middle part is what we went to. We upped our copies, especially in the color section, and lowered them in the black copies based off what our need was over the last year or two.
Oh, so the color must be what caused our.
The color costs us a lot of
Got it.
money.
So
And
we're
that's why
comfortable with the black copies coming down
Yes, we were-
600,000.
we lowered those, raised the color copy, and that included 9 copy machines and 10 laser printers in the district. So after the bid, and it was a significant difference, we went back though and added a couple of things which didn't, where is that?
So last year we spent, while you're looking that up, last year we spent $21,800 on the overage and the
Yes.
contract.
Yep.
This year, we
The
are
bid-
the bid is 17,900,
Well, you have,
It's 21,770.
yes.
and then it landed at,
The bottom line is gonna be 22, cause we added,
basically pay what we've been paying.
yes, actually, we're gonna pay less if we keep the overages off. Because we did go back and add at the end, what else we selected tissue? Color at the district office. And then we had to make the printers, Micker checks, so they can print checks at the district office, and some finishers on all 4 of the office copies. So that only went up about $700, so it didn't really affect the overall bid at all, or we would have been back and rebid it. But the final contract is, where is it? $20,205.81.
The final is what, how much?
$20,205 after we added those things, so
So
it's
15
I
still,
thought it was 21,770.
That's
Which
last
number
year.
is it?
no, that's last year.
That's last year up here,
So-
Jay.
So our
That's last
cost,
year.
we're hoping to save money from that last year's cost.
So we're about down $1,500 last year.
Yeah.
Assuming we don't go over, but we feel better about the overages based on how we built the contract,
Right,
just make sure I understand.
You said the copy machines are new,
they're new, they're all new.
are they
And
considerably different than the ones that they had before? Like, will staff need to?
There's a little bit of training, but I mean, I'm not very tech savvy and I've picked it up, so if I can pick it up, anybody can, honestly. It's not real difficult, you gotta punch in a code.
You must have picked it up since Friday.
I did, Friday I could not do it. I have picked it up since
Well,
Friday.
here's what bothers me about this whole deal. We just spent $100,000 and the board had no clue that we would spend money.
We spent
Well-
100,000.
No, not,
We got a
Over
5-year
5
contract,
Oh.
$20,000, that's
About 5 years.
$101,025 with no overages, and the board, to my knowledge, had no clue
well,
that we were
That's
spending that money.
that's an ongoing cost every year. And in my opinion, over 5 years, to have that same cost, that's a pretty good cost. We're gonna
I'm not
save
saying
money.
whether it's good or bad, I'm just saying that when you spend that kind of money, I don't know why we don't have the board involved in it some way. Otherwise, what are we here for? Just do
That's
what you want,
in-
you
in
stamp it and prove it,
past-
you want.
That's never been anything I've gotten approval from the board, but if that's what you wanna do in the future, we sure can.
What's
That's been-
the, what's the
that's a-
amount that we can
that's a-
spend, what's the
that's a
amount
general-
that you're allowed to spend without board approval? Is there a number that we have
Well-
right now? Most of them have like a $10,000 limit, so that's 20,000 a year, that's 100,000 over 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's wrong, that's
Typically,
bad or not,
here's
but-
what has happened in the past, it just rolled over the contract. We started rebidding that every so often to bring that cost down, so.
But if we're gonna do this right, it's not your money, it's not my money, it's taxpayer money.
Right.
We should be getting bids to make sure that we're getting the best price.
And I
I'm
think
not saying
that's
you
what
guys
we
did
did.
what, but you never brought it to the board. You've got to bring that stuff to the board. If you're gonna spend $100,000, or even $20,000, it should have board approval. I mean, maybe I'm the only one thinking that way. If somebody else wants to jump in, go ahead, but I don't know how we can justify that. I'm not saying that it's a bad contract. It's a bad process. And if
Okay.
that's the process, then let's change it now so
We
it doesn't
can-
happen anymore.
that's what you wanna do, we can change it in the future for sure.
Yeah, we can talk about the process, I mean, just listening to everything, in my mind, since we're spending roughly the same each year, I'm not too concerned about it. But if we wanna build in a process, okay, for this amount of money or more, we need to bring it to the board.
Absolutely.
Or if it's a new bill versus old, we can have that discussion.
Certainly.
Agreed, yeah.
We can do that.
Well, we gotta go all done. Are we done there?
Where was I?
You're ready for
I think
petty
that was
cash?
in there, I think we're ready to make a motion.
Yep.
I'd make the motion, we adopt the minutes of the regular board meeting of June 11, 2020, approve the treasurer's report of June 30, 2020, reimburse petty cash in the amount of $29.43 to the middle school, and the payment of bills in the amount of $411,698.44 for July 14, 2021, and the June, July, and August 2021 payroll in the amount of $1,193,301.61.
Second, aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Old business.
Okay, safe return to school plan, as you know, this is on the website. It is something I had to put together really fast because I only had a day to get it on there.
Oh, okay.
Also, this was requirement for ESSER three money, that it had to be on the website by June 22nd. So it is on the website, and there is a comment section on there. You can click on that link, and anybody who gets on there can make open comment about this plan if they want suggestions or anything. But as you go through, basically what it makes a lot of, for example, under Part A, universal correct wearing of masks. All of those sections were part that we had to fill in. I didn't make that up, I just had to fill it in. It was a kind of a boiler template. And so we went in and filled those out. Mask mandates, first thing it says, mask mandates have been removed. Any staff or student will have the choice as to whether to wear a mask. Further guidance from KDHE and Osage County Health Department will be taken into consideration. And that kind of, I don't know if you've all had a chance to read through this or not, but it's kind of along that theme all the way through.
I'd say the only question I had after I looked at it was, are we going to scan temperatures still? I know we've got the technology to do it, but will
That would
we
just, we won't, I don't think that we'll expect anybody to stand at the doorway and do it, but we have the technology to do it and we'll get alerts, as I understand it. So we don't have to stand there and monitor every kid that comes in, but if we get an alert that comes up, we can figure out who that kid was, or adult,
So we'll still
could
have
be
it
anybody.
on using it.
Yeah.
That was my only question.
Okay,
Summer project update.
okay. Summer project, the HVAC project is completed. I've been in there, it works really well.
Awesome,
That was a,
better than graduation,
yes, it's cool in there right now. So
middle school graduation,
That
I
was
should
a-
say.
it was hot in there for that. That's a significant upgrade from what we had. It's gonna, and I think we'll save a lot of money on utilities with that. The bleachers are out. They've been demolished, demoed, whatever you wanna call it. We saved the wood and sold the wood, and that brought $1,995.
How much?
$1,995.
What, did one person buy it all?
No, we had it in 18 different stacks.
That's
So, several people were able to get several stacks, and some got one, just however they wanted to do it. The floors are in progress right now, everything's done in there except the little gym's refinished, surfaced the middle school gym, and they will get the big one tomorrow, so that's gonna be done. The bleachers, I emailed the bleacher company today. They're supposed to be shipped the week of July 26th. However, the backs are gonna be delayed because I figured something would get delayed.
But they can install it without the
They,
backs.
yes,
and
we'll
that.
have bleachers somewhere after we get the delivery. 7 to 14 days is what it takes to put those bleachers in. The backs, for whatever reason, are delayed, and that ship date, they told me, was September 20th, so it's gonna be quite a bit longer to get the backs. But if we can get the bleachers installed, that will be good. Some other things that we have going on, there's 3 doors in the elementary at the end of July that are gonna be replaced completely. That means frames and all, that they're rusting out. And that would be the kindergarten room, the room going out to recess, and I think it's the music room door over there.
Was these the doors that were originally planned for Nestorville?
Yes, and I took them off of there because of the Bacon Davis wages stipulation. They weren't, there's no way to get that done that I know of. The other one is, we would have a dishwasher that's gonna be installed in July. That's coming out of food service. That's not done yet either, so I think that's about it on the projects that are going on right now.
Are we gonna do the lunchroom tables on the gym floor this year or not?
The answer up front is no, we'd rather not.
Right,
Just curious.
Unless we have some change in the situation, we'd rather not do that. Okay.
New business.
Okay, KSB policy update. I sent those out. I did not print you a bunch of copies. They're summaries. We just need a motion. Most of those were review and adopt revisions. Get those every year. So, unless you have a question.
What are the policies, what are they covering?
Oh, there's several different items, Brent. Back in December, a lot of it was based off of COVID in December. I sent them back a few weeks ago in my board update, but evacuations and emergencies, review and adopt, communicable diseases. They deleted a form. Attendance updates, when they do compulsory attendance, they update that every so often. Local health and wellness was one, and a lot of that had to do with COVID, communicable diseases. Most of those are wording changes in they're not new policies, they're revisions.
Revisions?
Yes, revisions is
Whole
usually.
sections of that used to just be called wellness,
Yeah.
halted wellness.
Not
It's like they
Yeah,
have to change
just
it.
Why did they not
It's just
approve
minor.
changes back in December?
Okay.
We can
We
accept
can do
a
it
gift
that
of
way, it's just-
$500,000 and
That's nice.
I do it once a year,
$500
some
and
people
above?
do it.
$100,000.
I just
That
didn't know.
limit has been removed, so if there's a donor out there that wants to donate more than $500,000, we'll be happy to take that.
we'll take it.
So does anybody got questions on that?
No.
I would make a motion, we approve the KSB policy updates from December and June.
Second time.
Aye.
Possible capital outlay projects.
These are some things I've slated, they're on my radar for this year for capital outlay. We haven't done any carpet replacement for a while, and I think we need to get back on that because we're gonna find some rooms that are in need. Roof maintenance and repairs, some of those things have been identified by that Schweikert company that we're gonna have to get those within the next 2 years. We're doing some of it this year, about $10,000 worth this summer also, but they're minor repairs. I do believe that those roof maintenance and repairs are gonna make the roofs of the buildings last a lot longer than if we just let them go and then have bigger problems, so that seems to be the consensus there. And kind of what Schweikert's is trying to do is lengthen the life of our roofs. Track surfacing, this is one that I guess could potentially wait another year, but I don't know that I would advise that. What that actually is the red surfacing of the track. It's not tearing that whole track out and starting over. It's basically putting that red surface on it, and then you have to restripe it. The red surface, as I was explained, protects the underneath surface, the rubber. The more of that black you see coming out, that's when the sun can deteriorate that.
So it's kind of a sealer.
It's a sealer, yeah. It's not just color, it's a sealer. So it has a purpose, and if you let that
It just not look cool.
yeah, if you let that get damaged and the black gets deteriorated, you shorten the length. You guys remember how long that track was supposed to last? If 20 years?
150 years.
20 years or so.
Yeah.
But if you don't keep this part of it up, then you gotta redo the whole thing, and that's
So the
more,
maintenance.
yeah, this is more like maintenance, yes.
And what year, how many
7 years.
7?
Well,
We just completed
8.
You just
They recommend it every 7 years.
Time goes
So, yeah,
And the track's good for how many years? 20?
if you keep doing this and keep it up. If
What
you
makes
do-
it go away?
I don't really know, it's worn out, I guess, I don't really know.
Must get cracks on it, and I'm assuming if you wear out
Cracks
that,
and asphalt underneath and stuff like
And
that.
they're gonna glue the edges down. There's some places on the edge where it's loosening up and moisture and
So where the
Cold
chunks are
freezing.
kinda, like on the north side there, kinda.
I think that was a lawnmower.
oh, that'll be
They'll
a chunk.
they'll fix that stuff too.
On the capital outlay fund itself,
Yes,
what are we looking at for 2021, 22 as far as like,
this coming year.
yeah, for it? I mean,
Well,
You have
we'll talk-
three-
We're gonna talk about that here in a little bit.
okay, I mean, we have 333,000, but if we, depending on how large that outlay fund is, that's,
We'll be able to cover it. Yeah, we have, right now, the balance is like 777,000.
I just didn't know what the,
We'll talk about that in a minute.
If the HVAC doesn't come back,
Yeah, that's just, I've not gotten 100% approval on that, to be quite honest. They've given me.
I just want us to keep that in the back of our head.
They've approved it, and we have the money, and we're gonna spend the money, but they never have. I mean, they're so slow on getting us actual approval. I've done everything I can do to get that approved so far. But if they come back and say, I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen at this point.
Got it.
We've gotten the money, it's been approved.
Oh, excellent, okay.
I mean, however, there's certain steps that I haven't been approved for, like the last one I had to submit was a different form that they sent us, and I sent that in, and then they said, well, some parts of that aren't gonna work, but I never got it back. So I don't know if I'm gonna get it back or not. And that was get it back to adjust it or,
Mhm.
just fix it, whatever. Playground updates, I was out there with Dan, we really need to do our playground upgrades next year. What's happening on that rubber stuff on the metal, I don't know what you call it, but when the water gets underneath that rubber, it completely rusts that stuff a lot faster. There's certain areas we went in and had to fix, Dan has fixed a few things this year. But as I've looked at that a little closer, I don't think we wanna wait another year.
Well, based on the conversation we had last month and thinking about it, I took a little stroll out there. I would agree. I mean, I think it'd be a huge win for our community and
Yeah,
kids and.
like you say, you look at it from a distance and it looks pretty good, but when
But
you
up
get up
close.
and you start looking and examining things a little closer, it's not good. We need,
Is any of that eligible for the ESSER funds?
not to my knowledge, but that doesn't mean I can't look into it, okay? Most of this I would say no, but
What's
playground
the-
upgrades, I don't know,
Yeah, we'll talk about that, so what's the new amount that we're getting
the new amount in capital outlay.
in ESSER funds?
Oh,
1.3.
1.1,115.
To be used over how many years?
Give me just a second, I'll tell you. I have it up.
We're calling this ESER 3?
Yes, this is ESER 3. 1,115,651. 223,130 has to be, that's 20% has to be used for learning loss. So that difference is 892,521. And I'm thinking that Randy Watson is gonna give us a tutorial on this tomorrow at 12:30. They haven't even talked about ESER 3 yet. We don't have the ability to spend it, to my knowledge, yet. There's different things that we have to go through to spend that money. And the criteria is gonna be somewhat different than we have in the past. Okay. Football field maintenance, that's just ongoing, but the football field that's in 2 years, we've made unbelievable progress. Has it been 2 years since we started having, 2 or 3, I can't remember. Tremendous progress, but that's ongoing. Just the other day, they called us and said we need to come and put fungicide on it because of all the rain you just got, and so they did that. Pole vault pit, we need to replace that. If you remember, a couple years ago, we had that big straight line wind that went through, and it flipped our pole vault pit, and pretty much mangled it up. I went back and afterwards and went to an Osage County emergency meeting and applied for some funding through FEMA because of that damage, and was able to get 18,000 of that back, which is now in capital outlay. So we're gonna go ahead and because we got that money, we have to spend it on this. So
18 of the 21 has already been.
18 something, yeah, I can't remember. And honestly, I don't remember exactly what that's an estimate on that pole vault pit. I don't think it's any more than that. And then the gray car, that's kind of a question mark right now. I don't know yet, but I've got that on my radar. Some of the vehicles we need to start looking at so that we don't have to do them all at the same time. Any questions on any of that? Or suggestions or concerns?
I don't have any concerns with it.
Okay,
Alright, moving on.
I think this is our revenue neutral rate information. And this is the form that we have.
One page.
Yeah, right now it is. This is the form that we have to send to the county clerk by Tuesday. Is that the 20th? So if you look at this form, I'll wait till it gets around. So the revenue neutral rate, by statute, we will exceed the revenue neutral rate like almost every other school in the state on the general fund due to the 20 mil. I sent some of that explanation out to you guys. That's because by law, we have to go 20 mils on the general fund, and if the assessed valuation goes up, then you're automatically going to exceed that rate because you have to do 20 mils. So that's going to happen. We have to have that hearing.
So by law, we have to have the 20 mils, but there's also a law that says we can't
If you exceed it, then you have to have a hearing.
exceed the 20 mils.
Yeah, and
I did do some calling on this, and I called the lady that actually wrote the law. Originally, the schools were not in this, but the counties and cities insisted that the schools had to be part of this because it was looking like the cities and counties were doing all the tax raises when the schools were part of it. So they insisted they be part of it. They overlooked this 20 mil deal. It will be fixed next year because you cannot change the 20 mil rate. The state even put out the notice you can't change it, so, but they changed it, the county to put it in the neutral rate, which is no big deal, because we can still fix all that, but you have to hold a hearing on that particular fund, because it's over that rate until we fix it. Next year, they'll fix it on their own. And then on the bond and interest one, we have to hold another hearing, because we're gonna be over it on that. And on capital outlay, we're gonna have to hold another hearing, because we're gonna be over it on that. And supplemental general, we're gonna have another one, because we're gonna be over on that. Now, the options is we could hold the one hearing on the general, bring it back to the 20 mils it has to be, lower all the other ones down and stay at the revenue neutral rate, which is the 50.87670. We do not have to go up all these rates. And if you looked at our balances, I think you can make an argument that it's probably time we start giving some back instead of keeping $2.8 million in reserves. I
So,
think the county, the school district needs to start thinking about the people that are having a hard time choosing between food, medicine, whatever, and just keep taxing them to death. We need to fix that, so. And there is a way to fix it, even though you have to have a hearing. You just raise the 1 to 20 and reduce all the other ones down, we can reduce taxes at the same time. If you recall, last year, the county reduced their rate, and we, as the district, we raised our capital outlay, so we could lower the capital outlay back down to 5, put the other ones right where they should, leave them where we take the numbers off of that, put the other one back to 20, and we reduce taxes by a ton in the county, in the district.
So that would keep us from having to have a separate hearing on each one of those.
You have to have a hearing on any of them that you propose that you're gonna go over that revenue neutral rate, you have to have individual hearings for each one of those. The only one we have to have a hearing on is the general fund. And that's not through any fault of ours or anybody else, it's just that they messed it up and whether you wanna blame it on the county, the state, whoever, but
because our neutral's
they
at
broke the
19.7.
law themselves.
The new,
Neutral's 19.7, but 20 is the law.
Right.
Okay.
And you can't adjust, you
Just
can't go
making
above and you can't go below it, that's just a fact, that's gotta stay there. So that's the part they missed in when they wrote the bill. But in talking to Senator Tyson, who is the one that proposed the bill, sponsored the bill, whatever you wanna call that, they will fix it next year, but the only way to fix it this year is what I was just telling you about.
Change.
But in this case, every one of them, we're over in every one of them. And if you look at our budget wrap-up that we all have, if you look at the funds, you can tell that we're not hurting for money in those funds. So I don't know why we're taxing the crap out of everybody.
Oh, and so thank you, because that helped. I don't understand this as much as I should. I know it's, because it's
our
Confusing
mill,
thing.
the bottom
the
line,
bottom right.
revenue neutral rate, our revenue neutral rate is 50.87067.
Where,
You don't
I
have
have
that,
it on there.
you don't have
Okay.
that.
thank you, I was
So
like,
if you write,
you keep saying a number that
I
I'm
tried
not
to
seeing.
get you guys, this one I tried to get copies of.
if you would, our revenue neutral rate on the bottom line is 50.8706. If you added all what we have there up, we are at, if you added the 20 on the general, the 6, the 16 on LOB, and that's at 30%, not 31% LOB. And remember, I wanna just remind you, we get 67% state aid on LOB. On capital outlay, we get 66% state aid. Just to make you aware of that. Bond and interest, you have to make sure that you have enough in bond and interest in your budget to make the payments. That's one of the first things that we have not had our budget reviewed. We plan on having that done. So right now, if you add all of those taxes up, those mill rates, we're at 51.187. So we're like 0.317 above. to
The
get
neutral is, I just wanna say that again, the neutral is
50
50.8706.
And then the budget is 51,187.
You take a picture
Yeah.
of that.
As it reads right there. Now, this isn't, these are maximums. You can't, whatever you have here, you cannot go above. Whatever we turn in on Tuesday, we cannot go above. It doesn't mean you have to stay with this. Does that make sense?
So we can change.
This can be changed.
But I assume this budget is built on the 51,187.
What budget?
Oh, that's the
those are-
wrap up.
Here, just to give you
I
kind of
thought
a
you meant the
heads up.
budget we're going to be creating.
And we'll talk about this in a
These
little bit too, but in 20 to 21, we had a carryover of $400 and some $1,000. Figure that out in mills, that's a pretty good chunk of change that could have went back to taxpayers that are overtaxed. So my point is we don't need to be even talking anywhere near these numbers. If anything, we should be talking about lower numbers, not higher. We're not taking anything from the kids because it's all in the bank, we're not using it. And that's where the problem is we're building these funds up for what?
Well,
Who benefits from having $2.8 million in the bank?
our fund, you gotta look at those individual.
I will, okay, let's look at them individual. Capital outlay, $777,594.
A lot of we are a little higher this year, but that is gonna
Contingency.
be because we had
Hold
ESSER
on, we're gonna
funds.
look at them. Contingency, $400,747. Special ed, $490,184. Food service, $81,431. Professional development, $35,240. Vocational, $85,020. K-12 at risk, $204,208. Supplemental, $41,600. Bond and interest, $729,424 for a total of $2.845448. Last year, we had 2.4, the year before, 2.4. We've been staying, the funds are just going up, we're not ever doing anything to help the taxpayer. And I think it's our job, it's to look out for the taxpayers as much as it is for the district, and I think the district's in good shape. So I think we need to look at taking care of the taxpayers a little bit, and that includes myself and everybody else in this room, because we're all taxpayers. And I'm not saying we cut this thing to nothing, because there is tons of money, we're talking about very little bit of money here, and there's no reason to keep carrying this. We need to look at how we can reduce these rates, not raise them.
I'm so curious from your perspective, okay, you've seen these dollars out there. They just went through capital outlay, contingency, special ed. Do you have plans or is there something we should be aware of, take into consideration
Well,
for, what might be coming our way that could be large?
as far as a large purchase, we've been taking care of the buildings fairly well. In the near future, this district needs to look at another capital outlay or capital improvement project. In 2030, our bond payments will expire. So we need to be thinking, and that takes, 3 to 5 years. But at that time, that would be my suggestion, is somewhere in the 3 to 5 year range, we need to begin that planning process to look at what are the needs of the district as far as long-term. And at that point, you do need some capital outlay build up, because there's always gonna be some of that you can help out with in that bond but we're a ways away from that, in my perspective. We've been doing a lot of stuff with capital outlay to help the facilities, like the parking, the drainage, boilers, HVAC, those kind of things we've been looking at. Some of the things that long-term that you'll need to look at, the roofs. Like, although seems like a new building to me, it's not anymore. A roof on this building is $500,000 plus on just this high school building. So different things like that need to be taken into perspective, along with any other possible improvements the district might need. But it needs to be done in a capital improvement project planning situation. And passing a bond issue is all about timing. It's all about timing, and you need to do it at the right time. I wouldn't suggest you do it in the district too soon before this. You don't have to wait until it's exactly done, but you don't wanna do it before all these bond payments are completed either. The mills are, like you say, you have to have enough mills.
If you run out and you don't do a new bond, then you gotta take it to the public, get another bond approved. In a way that you're gonna have to tell them you gotta raise it this many mills to do that again. So, in essence, there'll be, when this bond's done, if no bond's added, you're gonna take whatever that number is, which is, right now, we're putting in, I don't see the bond there, it's 10.67 is what they wanna go to, which is pretty substantial money, it's $300-some thousand a year.
9.13, we actually were able to bring that
I'm on the
down,
wrong one here.
yeah.
But the rate's going up, according to this sheet, that the revenue neutral rate.
We can, I don't think it's gonna be too detrimental to bring down. I would stay away from, the ones that I would stay away from are LOB. The easier to adjust would be capital outlay, but you still wanna be able to take care of your situations if that's what the board wants to do.
Okay, one more question. So you talked about the state aid. So if we reduce LOB, which is currently the 16.049.
LOB is.
LOBs, on here it says 16, yes, that's 30% of your.
The suggestion is to go to, yes.
Okay, on here it's still showing, is that the supplemental general?
That's LOB, yeah,
This one shows the rate is 14.662, so.
Okay, that was last year.
that's last year.
So I'm talking about this sheet right here that just come out, that shows that number. And this is the revenue neutral rate. The revenue neutral rate says we need to be at 14.533443.
Oh, that's just wide, it's whited out on here, that's what it
Yeah, it's on this one out here. So I don't know where the 16 come from, because on here, it's only showing 14.6.
I wanna, that's, I think where you were going, Kat,
That's-
let's go through each one so I understand exactly.
That was the rate last year, and they're just using that
We've gone
rate.
through enough of the budget that we're putting the budget numbers in right now, and like it hasn't been, haven't had it approved yet. That's gonna be harder to take down on the LOB, and I would suggest that I would stay away from the LOB as much as possible, cause 67% of that is state aid.
Okay, that was gonna be my question,
You-
impact
yeah.
from the state aid perspective and what that
But
does to
state
us.
aid is taxpayer dollars again.
But a
Just
lot-
another way of saying, let's take it a different way to get it. I mean, it's still taxpayer dollars.
It is, but it's not come from Osage County.
Here's the problem
Right,
that,
but I mean, that's
here's,
going to all the schools, right? It's
Right,
state aid.
Somebody's
So we
gonna get
want our
it.
share of it,
right.
in my opinion.
at the end of the day, here's where the problem comes in. If we reduce anything and we wanna go above it next year, we gotta go tell them why, and you gotta have it here. And eventually, it's gonna come to a point where you have to send them mailers and everything else. This year, we can all sneak around that. I'm not interested in that. I do not wanna see us exceed the revenue neutral rate in any way, shape, or form. The county's already made that commitment, and I think the school district needs to step up and do the same thing. That's my own personal opinion.
Okay, and I was gonna ask you that from a personal perspective of being a county commissioner, of what that stance was, because that is
We
what was
just did
going
that.
through my mind today of a
The county,
potential
we just voted
conflict
on
of
that
interest.
Monday, and we are not gonna exceed the revenue neutral rate. Now, the county's a little different than the school district because we don't have a set one. And like that mill levy, so that one we have to fix, we don't have a choice on it, the general. We have to have that budget here and we have to raise that to 20. But that doesn't mean we can't reduce all the other ones. I would, personally, I think we ought to take the LOB back to 5. And here's why I say that, we've got $1.2 million coming, or 1.115. Even if you don't use the money in capital outlay and you use the money somewhere else, you're gonna take that out of your budget, so at the end of the year, when you got your transfers, instead of transferring in all these other funds, let's transfer all of it into capital outlay. And then let's see how much money ends up in.
I would really caution about taking the LOB down, because we're already at 30% LOB instead of the state average at 31.
Troy, we're carrying over $400,000.
I understand, but I'd be, if you look at the bottom line, 50.8706, if you took what we would have to come down on the total is 0.3173 to get below that revenue neutral. If you so if you drop the capital
But that's
out,
not true, because somebody's changed this number from here, because this number is still showing.
that's, this number, Jay, is not coming from over here. This is coming from, we're working on the budget and getting these numbers.
So you're saying that you wanna raise the rate even higher than what they're showing the rate?
I'm looking at trying to get the overall mills down, the overall mill rate down from the bottom, right here. This rate right here at the bottom.
Mhm.
If we can get below that, if that's what the,
Below the
But- but if you-
50.87.
but I would be cautious, very cautious about doing that in the LOB. If you wanna look at capital outlay, I've not heard that you have to have a hearing on each one of those things. I'm not saying that's not
I
right.
just checked on it,
Like I say,
That's
I don't know,
from,
I've not heard that, but
that's from them also.
I would be cautious about doing that with the LOB. If you wanna go below that bottom line, which is 50.87, we can do that by dropping capital outlay mills.
So my question would be is, why do we need the other $50,000 in LOB? What are we gonna use it for? How much of the
You
LOB,
gotta-
how much of the
over-
LOB did we have
it's
left
gonna-
from this year?
I couldn't tell you that off the top of my head.
Supplement 41. Supplemental,
Yeah, we
41.6.
carried over 41, and that
this is in this packet.
we carried over $41,000 in that.
So we carried over 41,000, we
reason-
wanna raise it 50, that's 100, and we got 1.1 million coming.
The
I don't
reason,
know why we're talking about raising the LOB. I mean, this is just another way, because we wouldn't allow you to raise it to 31%, now we wanna just raise the mills. I'm not interested in that, I hope everybody else in this room is the same thought.
My question is on this form itself, the agenda item we're talking about, what is your suggestion for this form that we publish? So you keep talking about not going above the neutral rate, so is that what you're wanting to publish on this form?
Well, we have to do, we don't have a choice, we have to make the statement that we're gonna exceed the revenue neutral rate on the general fund.
Right.
That's the only one I'd make the suggestion that we do that, and then we can mess with, bring the numbers where we need to, because if we raise that one, the point whatever, then we just reduce all the other ones. Right now, you could reduce the, bond and interest, personally, I think we go back to the 5 mils on capital outlay. And that takes care of more than enough, that actually lowers the taxes some.
And that's my
I'd be
question.
in more support of doing that than I would mess with LOB.
But my
Okay.
point is, the LOB number that you have and the LOB number that is on here are two different numbers, they're not even close to each other. So if we're talking the LOB number of being the 14.533, yeah, I agree with that, but if you're talking the LOB number being 16 something, then that's $1.5 million, that's increasing tax. Big time.
We didn't carry over as much LOB this year, so we have to make up for that. And that's why this LOB fluctuates.
There's $2.8 million, we carried over $400,000. These are your figures you gave us.
Yeah.
Right there. I mean, I don't know why that doesn't make any sense that we wanna keep gouging for money.
So our current mill rate on this is 51.429,
For this, yeah, that's what I just
and
looked
then the
at.
21-22 mill rate is 51.187, 0.3164 less than what we currently have. If the form stays like it is.
Right, but we can't use this form, again, that one's gotta go to 20. So if you lose, and I've got a different sheet than
I'm
you,
using the 20, the
Okay.
far right is 20.
Far right,
so let me get this one, cause I'm using the other one, so.
okay, so
The
if you add
revenue
up,
neutral is 50.87,
Correct.
but the 21-22 on here, is 51.187,
Our mills are gonna go down.
which is still less than what we currently have.
because last year's actual is 51.
Our revenue neutral rate is 50.87, so if we're above that, we're raising taxes.
We're not approving the budget of 51.187.
At what?
So we're not approving a budget on this form.
No, we have to approve whether we're gonna have a hearing or not. The hearing that that I'll make the motion is, and I can make that motion now, and then we can go through each one of them, but by statute, again, we will exceed the neutral rate in the general fund due to the 20 mil law. So I'll make a motion that we have a budget, or a revenue neutral rate hearing to raise that, to change the general fund, mill levy to what the state law says we have to be at. And I'd make that motion.
Second,
Choice.
you have a date of the hearing?
So then we can look at the other funds, and if we choose
Can you
not to
explain,
go,
can you explain that last motion to me again, please?
Yeah. we're gonna hold the budget hearing to increase the general fund back to 20 mils, which means we're gonna
Right.
exceed the revenue neutral rate.
Right,
Okay, then each one of these other funds, we don't need to have a hearing on those if we're not gonna exceed that revenue neutral rate. And the revenue neutral rate is, if you don't have these written down on the bond and interest, it's 10.672594.
say that again.
10.672594.
Okay.
On the capital outlay, it's 5.947392.
We got that, yep.
And on the supplemental general, it's 14.533443. So if we choose not to go above any of those rates, we do not have to have a hearing on that particular.
So if we hold bond and, make sure I'm on the right line here, capital outlay at 5947 versus the 6, there's no hearing.
Well, we don't even have to hold it there because I think we need to reduce that
I mean,
to
if
make
we
up
were-
for what we're gonna increase the general. I think we go back to 5 and we'll give everybody a tax rate.
Okay,
That would be one
that's your
person.
suggestion, okay?
You're saying, okay, reduce it,
But we don't have to have a hearing to reduce it. Only if you exceed it.
Okay.
If you exceed the revenue neutral rate, you have to have a hearing.
which we'll have to have on the.
Right, the only one we have to increase is the general, and that's that should have never been even put in this, because by state law, they set that amount. We don't get a choice on that. The other ones is what we set it at.
We can change the others.
Correct.
And then, just to make sure I understand, bond and interest number 1, that is what we need to make the payment, the 9138 that we're suggesting.
mhm,
Is how much?
Yes, we're already below that.
We're below the neutral, it's what we need to make the payment, we're all good, okay, that, just make sure I understand, perfect. Okay, you're following me, Jay?
I see what you're saying now.
I would suggest that down the road, we have to be careful through negotiations practices if we're gonna reduce the LOB. That's what concerns me.
On the LOB piece.
Yes,
Why would we need to go above, just to make me understand, because I don't, this is becoming more familiar. The 14662 that we actualized last year. What is the benefit?
the, because we have to make up for a loss of what we didn't have last, that's gonna raise it a little bit right there. We carried over more the year before we did last year, we only had 41,000,
So we didn't need as much, so we didn't, okay,
right.
okay.
And then the 30% of the LOB, the 30% is of the general fund budget that you adopt, it comes right off your Form 150.
Okay,
So if you go look back at the numbers from 2017 on, we had in the supplemental 9,500, then 72,500, then 0,
zero benefit,
then 71,152, and then this year.
It fluctuates, but
okay. I'll just, yeah, think so. Under supplement. Okay.
The numbers can be played with in a lot of different ways, because
End of year balances.
there's some pretty lack of a better word, we have some pretty healthy balances in our accounts.
I would agree that we have healthy balances. I guess I'm trying to understand why we would need to go above the neutral tax rate in total based on everything that we
On the
have.
total, we can go down. I would just,
We just need to decide which fund.
I would be
Okay.
very cautious,
where we're
I'm
at?
just saying I'd be cautious about it on the LOB.
Okay,
I think that will be detrimental down the road. That's all I'm saying.
What would happen is if we don't do it, then next year if we wanna raise that, we have to have a hearing.
got it.
So it's a matter of when you wanna have a hearing, and to me, I don't think we have a hearing until we need the money, and right now, we obviously don't need the money. So I don't.
The
believe
reason
we
that,
should dig it out.
one of the big reason why our balances shifted up this year is completely because of being able to purchase things with ESSER money.
Got it, yeah.
And we're gonna have we're gonna have twice as much
But-
next year.
That's true, however, you're kind of hogtied on what you can spend ESSER funds with too.
So
So-
you're telling me, when I look at this, cause now I'm looking at your sheet, you're telling me that we can lower bond and interest all the way down to 9.138.
That's where they wanna be.
Yeah,
So we can go way below so we definitely don't need a hearing for that. I already think we can lower capital outlay back to 5, so we definitely don't
I'd
need
be
a hearing
much
for that.
more at ease, and not ease for myself, ease for the district. If we did that to bond it, if you wanna lower it, I would be more at ease at doing it with capital outlay than I would LOB. I think if you do that with LOB, you're looking at potential issues down the road.
And I get what you're saying, because it's hard
It will
to ask
affect-
people for
it-
more money.
It's going to affect the ability to give raises. Is what it's gonna do.
It's my eyes, I cannot get that line. So, you said out of capital outlay?
So if we
So-
wanna lower that to 5, that's gonna cost $52,000, cause 66% state aid is what we get on capital outlay.
So what if we just lower it by the 0.317 that we're over the neutral tax rate?
That would cost $20,770.
So my question is,
Sounds good to me.
Right, I mean, if we just lower capital outlay by the 0.317 that we're over the neutral tax rate,
We can lower it by 0.3173
I didn't carry it
to
out.
get below that rate. And we
but then
can,
you still gotta figure out how much he wants to raise the LOB. I'm telling you, the LOB is not, I am not in favor of raising.
Oh, raising it to the 16.
Wants to raise it to 16, yeah, that's almost 2 bills.
But but we're still netting a full one,
That's 50 grand to come in that we've already carried over 400 some thousand. And we carried over 41,000 this year. So because our comfort level wants to carry 100,000, we wanna raise it. That makes no sense to me. Not when people are out there losing homes, not being able to do what they need to do. That's insane to me. That doesn't even make good financial sense. I mean, it does if I'm the one holding the money and can do whatever I want, but it's not, and it's my money too, cause we gotta pay the taxes. I think we should do everything we can to reduce the taxes as much as we can, cause we only got one more year for this with ESSER funds, and then if you need money, go ask the people for it. And that's what nobody wants to do,
You have
'cause they're
until-
afraid that if you take
you
the
have
money, then
until
you can't ask.
we have until 2024 to spend that money, which is
It's a yes or money.
ESSER 3, we have 3.
So about 400,000 net,
I
300,000
think
to 400,000 a year.
this is our chance for Osage City to take the lead and tell everybody this is what you can do. And we should lead that and show people that, because I'm telling you, I think that everybody wins under that, and people wanna move here and come here. Anytime you can save them some money, we have good school systems, we're not in bad shape, we are not anywhere near being in bad financial shape. And we need to start taking care of the people that put us in this position.
If we took the LOB down to the neutral, to the 14,533.4, what does that take versus the 16,049?
It's 50 grand.
50, thank you.
It's actually you can put it back to the 14,662 that you had last year, but that's 50 grand.
It's gonna be more than that, cause you gotta add in the 67% state aid.
I'm just going by what your sheet shows, so.
The state aid is on top of that, so it's on top
State,
of
we
that.
get 67% state aid on LOB. So whatever our LOB is, 67% of it is state aid.
So which one of
30.
these funds do we not get any state aid on?
Capital outlay.
No, we get it on that.
We get it on
Do
bond
we
and
get nothing on
interest.
bond and interest?
We
So
do,
it-
we
So it
do.
doesn't matter which fund we go out of, it's gonna affect that, and,
It's at different levels.
but you're still, you're
Yeah, what's the
increasing taxes.
capital outlay
anyway you look
level?
at
Capital outlays at 66%.
Same as general, or did I just write
No,
wrong?
67% is LOB.
So it's all about the same.
So bringing it down
I
is
don't have bond and interest.
reducing the future tax rate. Is that
Absolutely,
correct?
which means that if you wanted to raise that again, you gotta go back to the public and ask for that money back. And that's the point they don't wanna do, because once you give it back, they're afraid they ain't gonna be able to get it back. But I will make the argument that if you explain to the people, we're gonna give you money back because we're in this position, and if we need it later, I have no problem going back and asking for it. But I would much rather come from that argument than having the argument that we chose not to reduce it when we could have, and now we're back asking for more money.
And I think overall we're reducing it no matter what. So,
Say that one more time.
I mean, either way, we're reducing. So like if we
From
take,
last year.
so even if we take a little bit more, so capital outlay, you take that down to 5. Let's say we leave LOB alone. Overall, we're still below the R&R. Yeah, I mean, we are reducing it.
So here's your good example. Let's say and I'm just throwing out a number. If we went to the 9.138 in bond and interest, and we went to 5% in capital outlay, and we raised the LOB to 15, put the other one back to 20 where it's gotta be at, we're gonna be at 40, 138. And we raised the LOB and we reduced the other two that had high balances on them. So we've saved almost 2 mils.
Question, maybe you know this from the county, so how much does a reduction of 1 mil save your
In the
taxpayer?
county, it's 165, but in this district, it's probably 30 something, 37.
32, a mil. What was the question, Mike?
What's a
30?
mil?
We
What's a
reduce by
mil?
1 mil, what does it save you as the taxpayer?
Um,
I mean, we're talking about
What's 1
save,
mil worth? Is it's
1 mil is worth,
52,000? Is that now?
1 mil is worth, for every $1,000 of assessed valuation.
Yeah, it's 32,570 or 32 million is the assessed evaluation. 32.
A mill raises $32,000 approximately. Because that's
like
our,
on if I have $100,000 house and
That's what I want.
you reduce the mill levy by 1 mil, how much does that save me?
On a $100,000 house?
Yeah, I mean, that's
$100.
Or is it $32?
I think it's $32.
Excuse me, yeah.
32. Carry the one.
I was taking 100,000 times 1.
32.
I was the mental math champion of 1990.
Just trying to, we're talking 50,000, 400,000, but like, how much is it saving the taxpayer is
Right,
what I'm
that's what I
wondering.
was curious too, Mike. So you have 100,000 house, we're saying we're gonna could lower it by 2 mils, $60
For the year.
for the year.
And that's just a starting point. We could go lower now.
Are we deciding this here and now tonight?
We're deciding.
just having a
we're gonna have
discussion?
budget hearing. The one budget hearing we have to have because state law requires.
Yeah.
The other one, we decide whether we wanna have that, and we have to tell the clerk's office whether we're gonna have that
That'll be in August.
revenue neutral rate hearing on these other funds.
Thanks for circling back to that, because in my mind, then the only other one would be the LOB, is what we need a hearing on. If that's the decision before us.
If we go at
If we,
15,
if we decide to
yeah,
go above.
if we go to 15,
Right.
based
And
on
if we go
Whatever
anything
we go
above
to.
14.533, 34, or 443, we have to have a revenue neutral. And I'm not saying we don't do that, but I'm saying that if we do that, I think we need to make sure that we take it out of bond and interest and capital outlay, because those are two places that we can save money. I don't think we need no more money in the LOB either, because it's already got extra money going in. But if it means giving the teachers a raise, then yeah, I would like to keep something in there, but there's money in there now, we just gotta figure out how to put it in where it needs to be.
So here's my other question. We have to have the hearing, so say on what we publish on this form or what we approve at the budget hearing?
We have to have the
This-
hearing on just if we exceed, that we're gonna say we're gonna exceed that, because with the hearing won't be till August when we do the
So
budget hearing.
the hearing will
We're
be
gonna say-
September with the budget, the revenue neutral rate will be in September this year with, at the same time as the budget hearing.
The county, we don't have to do one because we're not gonna exceed it. So it's just if you exceed it, you have to have the hearing, and it's in those dates from August.
This form is just a maximum, it doesn't necessarily have to be what
how
it
you build
is.
the budget.
Right. That's
No, but this form is saying that we're gonna either go above it or we're not.
Right, but it's just saying that you're gonna have, it's just reporting that what your maximum might be.
I agree,
It
but-
does not mean that that's what it's going to be.
But it's still, you have to have the hearing if you go above
Yes.
those rates.
Right.
And each one of those are individual. The school district's the only one like that because they have different funds that are allocated different ways. The county, it's all one budget. So don't ask me why they did it that way, but
I've
the
not-
21 should not be on there. I talked to the lady, but if we wanna call her, I can call her right now, I got her cell phone, we can call Terry
20.
Tyson if you'd like to have
I
that.
just, what I'm saying is I have not heard that we have to have more than one hearing.
There's a hearing for every fund. If you're not doing anything August 17th, there'll be a gentleman down at the senior center that's gonna do a whole presentation on school finance and how it works, and he was part of this law too, unfortunately, or fortunately. They had good intentions with this, they just made a mistake with the mill levies on general.
Gotcha.
The intention is here's what's happened in the county. Is all these last few years, all these evaluations have gone through the roof. The schools, the cities, and the county, all of them, never changed the mill rate. They just kept bringing in more money. So yeah, these numbers that we have are gonna look great because we've been getting high off the hog. But at some point in time, they should have reduced the mills and saved the taxpayers some money. It would have been the same thing. But instead, we just kept adding all these funds. That's where my problem is let's fix it and fix some of the tax problems. If we don't fix it, who wants to come live here? I don't give a crap what this piece of paper says, how much money we got. If it's not bringing people into our district, then what good is it?
Okay, so then for potential coverage, we would need the LOB. If we need to have a hearing, I get that maybe that's what we gotta figure out for 100% sure.
If we would like to have a hearing to raise the LOB rate, then we can have that. We don't have to. That's the choice we have to make in here. We know we have to have the one on the general. If we go by these rates over here, we have to do one in every one of them. But in this form, we do not have to have one based on this number. We do not have to have one on this presentation and the bond and interest. However, we would have to have one every other one, including capital outlay.
Okay, so I would make a motion, see how this sounds as I say it out loud.
It's going there, so good, I'm glad you think so.
Alright, so,
I'll make a motion to be prepared for a hearing if needed in order to raise the revenue tax rate, if that's not right, in order to raise the actual tax rate for the LOB.
Beyond,
So you wanna have a hearing to, not possibly, it will be that, the hearing will be that we have, that we're gonna exceed the revenue neutral rate. That's what the hearing's about.
I said all of that correctly?
Did you get all that?
I will.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that's the LOB.
I guess I'll go along with it, I'm not gonna agree with it at the hearing, so you might as well know that now, while we arguing. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if there's any kind of not reducing taxes, I'm gonna have an argument from that side of the fence, so.
Okay, so we spoke of general, we spoke of that, and then the other one's gonna fall below possibly, so we can get it.
I'm not sure if I'm following where you guys are at.
Okay,
Okay, so here, Troy, we have to have a hearing on the general,
Right.
now we're gonna have a hearing on the LOB. The other two, we're not having a hearing on, so we're saying that
So what
we're
do
not
we,
gonna
so you're
go
asking me
above.
to, what you're asking me to do is lower on this form
You gotta lower
the
the
capital outlay.
capital outlay,
to 5.
and the other one you've already lowered.
Okay, so basically what we're saying is lower capital outlay.
And that one, we don't have to have a hearing, the other two we have to have a hearing on because there's a well, the one we know we're going above, cause we've got no choice. The other one we'll have the hearing on whether we do or don't.
Okay.
So I guess I don't know how you do a budget, if you're gonna do the budget hearing and the thing at the same day. If the budget, if it doesn't get approved to go above it, then how do you do your budget? Do you have to do 2 budgets?
You'd have to, I don't know, that's a good question.
I mean, they made this kind of tough with the state, because
Yeah.
if you decide you're not gonna go above that rate at that hearing, you've already got a budget prepared, so how do you prepare your budget? And it's almost like you have to have something in mind before you get there.
Whether it be the neutral, where you land, either you land at the neutral or if you're successful at your hearing at something higher. Right?
Exactly, so I mean, I don't know if you got, for Troy's sake, I mean, to be fair to him, he almost needs to have a number to put in there. And then figure it both ways, one with it, one without it, in case the hearing goes against it.
You're talking in LOB.
Because did we all? Okay, yeah, LOB.
I mean, right now, if we need to make a motion, I would make a motion that we leave the bond and interest at the sheet rate here at 9.138, which would be reducing it. So no hearing. I'd make a motion, we reduce capital outlay to 5, which means no hearing. I'd make a motion that we raise the capital outlay, or not the general fund back to 20, which means we have to have a hearing. And then we need to decide what number we wanna put on LOB. Whether, I mean, you can figure it both ways, you can figure it at the revenue neutral rate, and then you can figure out what rate you would like. And then when the hearing's over, you got both of them set there.
My question would be is we do not have to set those mill levies at this particular meeting.
No, we do not.
No, but
I would prefer
If you're
that
gonna
we
do a
wait until the
budget-
budget hearing. I
Then you
would
can have the
also
budget,
wait,
correct?
I would also prefer to table the topic until we are able to educate ourselves a little bit better on the whole scenario. I
fine
don't
with
necessarily disagree with you, Jay. I just feel a little bit uncomfortable making a decision on something that all of us aren't exactly 100%
And
clear
I'm
on.
fine with that, and I will get you every contact of who you need to and the one hearing I would tell you to go, or the one thing I tell you to go August 16th and get all your.
And I think that could be helpful. I think just generally our own research and information.
Unfortunately, I think that's
Could be
after
helpful
our next
too.
school board meeting, so. Well, we don't have to do anything, I think right now we've done what we absolutely have to do, which is say that we're gonna exceed the general fund and we're gonna exceed the LOB, possibly. I mean, those are the options that are on the table, everything else is, we're not gonna exceed it. This is the way I understand the motion to be made,
So I'm gonna turn this form in with a 5 on the differences. I'm gonna turn this form in to the county clerk with a 5 on capital outlay.
if you're gonna leave, are you gonna leave LOB at 16? I guess that's the
Yes,
question.
I guess so, yes.
And then
I mean,
we'll,
that'll be where we have the debate at whenever we get to that point, and when is that hearing? September?
September 8th, I believe.
Okay. 21-22 budget schedule.
We just talked about it.
can we do it
On
again?
August, permission to publish the budget, because you have to publish it, send it to the paper on August 24th. The budget must be published 10 days prior to the budget hearing.
So we'll
We'll have to
review
have a
it
special
at,
meeting.
the August meeting, we'll review it, or?
We'll have to have a special
You
meeting
can-
through the 24th.
We can review the budget at the August meeting. And then
Just the meeting's
I will
not
be
till-
out, it's this, I don't have the date, but it's second Wednesday in August.
It's the 11th.
But we don't have to, because if you guys want the information, August 17th is gonna be that day we get all the information you want.
You said evening, Jay?
Yeah, it'll be from 7 p.m. on August the 17th.
Is that put on by the Kansas Policy Institute?
Nope, it's put on by the Republican Central Committee.
Dave Trabert?
Dave Traver will be one of the speakers, yes. Who also happened to be involved in writing the law, but he's not a very good friend of KSB, who happens to run every school district in the state of Kansas.
Okay.
Okay,
Relax report.
Change, switching gears there. Okay, Three Lakes report. On Monday, we approved the TLEC policy governed by IDEA, which is basically the special education law. Also approved, when we get the ESSER two funds, to pay for new staff positions out of those. Approved the frameworks building hours, which I don't think anything really changed on that much. And that was about it on Three Lakes.
Recreation report.
We're finishing up baseball, softball season. This is the tournament week. Next week is youth football camp. Coach Ganbine and the high school staff and players and middle school players kind of organize that, handle that. Saturday, we're supposed to have a 7-on-7 tournament with Osage City, Council Grove, Olpe, Central Heights, and my mind just went blank. Oh, Burlington. And so hopefully we'll be able to play. I know that there's quite a bit of rain forecasted, so we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Pool's doing well. Water aerobics is doing well. Lots of swim lessons this summer, a lot of private lessons this summer. So we're kind of closing out on the end of the summer season. Fall program information will be out end of July, 1st of August. So that's it.
I make a motion we appoint Patty Brenner, or I guess we don't have to, we just appoint Patty Brenner as Freedom of Information Officer. I would make a motion that we continue to carry Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas as our healthcare provider.
Second time.
Aye. Questions on this one? So it says, in the past, boards authorized superintendent transfer funds as needed. What exactly does that mean?
That just means making transfers during the duration of the year to funds that you need to have the money in.
So at the end of the year,
Not at
How
the,
do we
it's not at
decide?
the end of the year, it's at the, during the middle of the year.
But at the end of the year on transfer funds, how do we decide where the money gets transferred to? The money that's left that can't be
We
left.
transferred into funds that need additional, we have to transfer somewhere, so we put it into different
That's
funds.
my point, is
yes.
how do we determine,
We look to see.
so
how that
you
funds
put that
are.
money where,
Like if special ed is one that you need to have money in, we put special ed, put it in special ed. You have to transfer what you have left into certain funds, and that's where you.
but it's by choice, because we
Yes,
can
it
put
is.
money into capital outlay, we can put it wherever.
You can't transfer it everywhere. You can transfer it to capital outlay, at-risk, food service,
Contingency.
and I don't do that, but you can. Those are the funds you can transfer to.
I mean, I don't have a problem transferring the funds during the school year, but at the end of the year, I think we ought to know where this money's getting transferred to. That's my own personal opinion, so the motion I'll make is that we allow the superintendent, or we authorize the superintendent to transfer funds as needed during the school year, and at the end of the year, that it comes to the school board to decide where the money goes and which fund.
That'll consist of a special board meeting.
If we need to, we can do that. I mean, I think we should know where the money's going.
I'm okay with him telling us where it's going. I'm okay with him telling us where it's going like he's done in the past.
Well, I made a motion, so I will withdraw that. So, somebody doesn't want a second, I guess we move on to somebody else to make a motion.
Is that something that could be sent like as an update?
Yeah.
Like for example,
I can tell you where it's going.
you know,
It's gonna be going to one of those funds that we just talked about.
whether it's an
I guess
amount
my
or
point
a
is, I'd like
percentage.
to have a discussion on where the money goes. Right now, we don't even know where it goes.
Well, I can tell you it goes to, this year it went to at-risk, sped, food service, folk ed, professional development, capital outlay, and we put some money in driver's ed because we're hoping to have a program there. And those are about the only places it can go. You can't,
Which one, which page is that on?
that's not in there, I'm just, but you can look at the funds, at-risk, sped. So this year, end of the year, I transferred 100,000 to at-risk, 385 to sped, 30,
385?
yeah, 385, 315. Food service, we put some money in food service, folk
Which is
ed,
it?
30,000. Folk ed, 80,000, 80.
80?
Professional development, 17, and capital outlay, 105, and driver's ed, 5,
You know what that total is?
722, 824.
On the transfer, is that something that you potentially would know prior to the June board meeting?
No.
That's a end of the month, end of the year. This is what we.
Well, that's a budget closeout situation.
We have to wait till payroll's done, all the bills, requisitions from staff and buildings comes in.
I gotcha. I just didn't know if it was something that could be, I guess, planned out or like an expectation that, hey, I'm more than likely gonna need, X amount of dollars for at-risk or, I know that's probably hard to predict.
That'd be very difficult.
So how hard is it to transfer money out of these funds once it's in there?
Meaning if they make the decision,
If
then we
the
come back
money's
and-
in these funds, how can we transfer it out if we wanna put it in something else?
Spend it for that.
You have to spend it, you have budget authority to spend it.
So like right now, all the pass-through money comes to special ed and we're still carrying $490, and I understand the flood-through monies and how you gotta have that payment, but that fund never changes, it's $500,000 most of the time. Contingency is $400,000 most of the time.
There's
So
certain things in
capital outlay is
special,
over
yeah, but in
$700,000.
special ed, you try to carry, it's ideal, it's to have enough for the first 3 months, cause you don't get tax. You have to have money in there because you don't have tax money coming in until after the first of the year, enough to pay those assessments.
Right,
So you have to have that money in.
but it never goes away, is what I'm saying, that, we just keep adding back to it.
Well, each
And
year
then
you
the
pay,
payment's how much, $190 or whatever?
no, it's what was ours, 5,
Well, I had 4, do we have a 5th assessment or not?
we had
Five
5, I
total.
can't remember off the top of my
We did
J
not have
head.
a fifth this year.
We did not have a 5th, but it was 500 and some thousand for us through the year.
So 125,000, but that amount there covers the entire year, so if the state of Kansas
Close.
quit funding us, that'd be the only way you would never have that.
You never know if you're gonna have that fifth assessment until June.
But I'm talking about the total amount, when you have $500,000 in there, you got enough to pay the whole year,
Not quite, no.
or pretty close to it.
Maybe close, depends on what your assessment does, it depends on if you have a high needs situation, it could get very costly through which we share costs on, through percentage basis.
So
For example, if a very high needs situation happens at West Franklin, we all share that cost. And so that one school doesn't have to share that burden.
so everybody pays the same assessments?
No, it's based off, your enrollment, percentage wise. We're number 2 behind Santa Fe Trail.
So how did we have $722,000 transferred? Where'd that money come from?
After you do requisitions, we always do our requisitions at the end of the year. And we normally don't have that much money at the end of the
played a
year.
huge
The
part
ESSER,
in that.
that's what I'm saying, ESSER played a part in that because we didn't have to buy certain things, we didn't have to buy a lot of technology. That was the biggest part of it. Normally, that would come out of our general fund or LOB to pay for technology that we need for the next year. But we've had ESSER funds to purchase a lot of that, and that's why we're a little high. The ESSER funds are gonna go away eventually. And we don't wanna put ourselves in a position where
The ESSER funds aren't going away anytime soon, because there's 1.1 million coming again, so
right,
if we had 722 left over using 400,000 or 3 or whatever that money was, now we're gonna have another 800,000 unless we can figure out a way to blow a bunch of money.
well, back to your point, I mean, there's only so many places I can transfer money at the end of the year, and I guess if you wanna have a end of the year special board meeting, we can do that.
Would that have potentially been a way to offset that revenue neutral rate? Like for example, if you transferred money or potentially more money into the capital outlay, could you then lower that mill levy
Sure,
more
sure.
to get that revenue neutral
Yeah,
rate
you're right.
down?
You can't do that with LOB, you can't do it with general fund, but you can do it with a capital outlay.
But essentially the fund that you could, so conceivably that possibly could have been done. I mean, I'm kind of understanding where you're going with this
Our capital outlay
a
has
little bit,
been
but
at 5% forever, and then last year, because the county reduced the mill rates, the school was nice, and they said, well, let's go ahead and collect one of those. And we approved it, so, I mean, I'm as fault as anybody else, because we approved it. But now I don't wanna approve it again, I want it back, I wanna give it back to the people that had to pay it, and maybe more.
and I
because there's
understand
plenty to
that.
give.
I understand that. I understand the purpose of maybe knowing or being informed about why the transfers are going to a
Where we
certain
land
spot,
at the end of
where
the year.
they land.
Right.
I get that. I don't necessarily know that, I don't necessarily know if I wanna have a special board meeting just to discuss the whole landscape of the transfers and where they might go. I could understand if Troy wanted input from us about different things, if we wanted to pad capital outlay for potential a certain, something that we wanna look at down the road, that may be a larger cost than what we currently have, but yet we wanna still maintain a certain level of money in that fund. Contingency, for example, or even if we wanted to take away from special education, $100,000 that and move that towards, I get all that.
There's a way to
I'm
do
just-
that, you just do it in June, because you got a pretty good idea what it is, you don't have to have a special board meeting.
I just don't know if, I kinda, like I said, I kinda get
Would it,
the path that you're going, but
yeah, would it be possible in June, it doesn't have to be, I'm gonna move this much and the bond and interest is gonna end at 729,422. If it's more like, I believe this is how much I'm going to be doing, this is the a round number, is that possible to do that in the June meeting?
No,
It's
not necessarily, it's not. We
I was
have
just
to do it-
curious if it,
What, we didn't
We
close
didn't do
out.
it this year until the 25th of June. We didn't know where we sat, cause that's when payroll got done, Pam had a stack this high of requisitions.
We don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to know where you're gonna end up until you pay all your bills each year.
trust me, I've been forecasting sales for 20 years, I
So
understand.
until you have your bill,
Yeah.
until you have all your requisitions run through, you don't know where you're gonna end up.
Yeah.
And the transfer has to happen by July 1, or does it have to happen, say by the, my point would be is that something that could be discussed at this meeting in July,
No.
where you
It has
wanna
to-
transfer?
we have-
So
we
it
have
has
to
to be
close
done
out.
immediately after.
If we waited till July, I could not do July payroll, we could not do any payment of the bills until we've rolled over.
Okay.
You can't
I'm
do
just
it.
trying to-
We would have
I'm trying to
a
figure out a,
20-minute meeting
Right, that's what-
on a-
yeah.
We'd have a 20-minute meeting at the end of June.
I mean, I don't have any
Problem is,
issue with
once the
having a
money gets
special
put
meeting.
in here,
That's,
you can't get it out.
I
of there
agree with
except for
that. I agree
certain
with
prices.
that.
That's the issue.
and it may be something that we're looking at something, down the road, or maybe there's a reason why, one fund needs to have more money than another fund, and I'm, I get that, so.
So is there a second or did the motion fail?
Everybody wants to say that or not? So I guess my motion would be.
Could you repeat it,
Yeah,
Please.
my motion would be that we, let me get back to the page here. That we allow the superintendent to make transfers as needed during the year. And at the end of the year transfers, that we hold a special board meeting at the end of June to discuss where that money is put.
Or where it was put during the year.
No, the
There's
end.
gonna be a big chunk, like right now, we had $722,824 that had to get transferred at the end of June.
On a normal year, you wouldn't have.
I'm just asking that the board has part of that decision where that money goes. And that's why we'd have a special board meeting.
So it'd be prior to transfer.
Prior to the transfer. And we may put it on right where he's got it, but I'm just saying that we should know where it's going, have that option if we'd like to change anything. So that's my motion.
I would say that.
All those in favor say aye.
Man, oh man, oh man. I'll vote yes.
Nay.
Yes.
Nay.
Yes.
What does that mean? I didn't do
4 to
that on
3,
purpose.
that passes.
It was,
Or no, 3 to 3.
It's 3-3, so it fails.
oh,
So right now, we have no motion on the floor.
gotcha.
So right now, we don't transfer any funds.
I make a motion, we authorize the superintendent to transfer funds as needed.
Second.
Aye.
I'm gonna say aye, so.
I'm gonna say aye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That don't mean I'm gonna stop talking
Yeah,
about
I
it.
just,
I'm not saying we should talk about it in June.
you mentioned.
Absolutely, I mean,
I
I
think-
will, I
right.
guarantee you, I'm gonna question, anytime we have $725,000 and we're talking about raising taxes, we're gonna have a conversation.
But Mike, and you're saying that we keep it the way it is that what,
It's
Your
transfer funds
motion.
as needed.
Transfers.
I mean,
as needed, but that's what we're doing now, right?
I think technically we
Right.
could always call a special meeting if we truly wanted a special meeting. And if that's what the special meeting
Absolutely,
is about, then
yeah, a special meeting can be called. Alright.
We're on number 10, Jay.
Number 10.
It's my favorite meeting of the year.
This one I know nothing about, so,
That's just our, OFG is our cafeteria plan with,
okay, so I'd make a motion, we appoint OFG Financial through Bay Bridge as district cafeteria plan, I have no idea what I'm talking about there, so if anybody has discussion, please talk.
That's insurance.
it's supplemental insurances,
Okay, like dental and vision, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
the option, life insurance, all that.
life
Yeah.
insurance,
Cancer,
dental's gonna go to Blue Cross this year
Second.
because they dropped theirs. But
Aye.
Aye.
We'll appoint the superintendent as hearing officer for school food service appeals. Appoint Patty Brenner as food service representative. I'd make a motion that we set the following petty cash limits. Superintendent for $350, the high school for $200, the middle school for $200, and the elementary school for $200.
Second time.
Aye.
Aye.
I'd make a motion that we set the mileage rate reimbursement at 56 cents a mile.
Second I.
Aye.
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 I'd make a motion, we establish the substitute rate at a current rate of $100 per day.
Second I.
Aye.
Aye.
We'll appoint the superintendent would be the compliance coordinator for federal title programs in section 504. We'll appoint Dan Fager as the asbestos representative. The superintendent should be appointed the homeless children and educational services coordinator. And I'd
Like
make a
to-
motion, we have the faculty staff luncheon on Thursday, August 12th. Members are also invited, please RSVP and use Maryland's restaurant to cater them.
Second I.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, I'm sorry, I gotta have myself.
You were
I
excited
heard
about
cat.
Maryland.
I
You were-
heard cat.
you heard
I heard food.
Maryland.
Does that take care of all that
Nope,
stuff?
number 20, auditing services. We heard today that that Carlin and Long will no longer be providing our audit services. They've identified Barney Associates out of Manhattan, and they have agreed to prior information and work papers to help us with this year's audit. Barney has agreed to complete the audit for the same fee as Carlin and Long. I don't know if it'll continue after this year. I would say it would not, which that's a $5,800 bill. If the federal funds exceed $750,000, it could be another $2,500 on top of that. With this short time frame, I would highly suggest that we go ahead and use Barney this year, and if we wanna make a change, we can do that down the road. But with the time frame, we usually get an audit in October, so
it's the end of August, 1st of September is our audit.
they do it then, but they come to our October board meeting, is that right? So I would recommend that we go ahead and contact Barney to go ahead with our audit this year. We were not the only school that this affected this year, it was several other schools, so we need a new auditor, basically.
With the 1.1 million in ESSER three funds, we're anticipating. when
It's
we
gonna make it go up.
Anticipate that extra 2,500, is that considered federal funds?
Yes, it would be
If it
considered
only
as,
spent a year, it would definitely.
If you drew down more than
if we
700.
drew it down, I don't know how that all works, Mike.
But this is to audit last year's stuff.
Right,
We had,
we don't have ESER three there, so I don't know.
So it won't probably happen.
How much did we have in ESSER funds?
we have
last year?
federal funds in
390?
food service, we have title federal funds.
We're probably gonna be above it last year.
490 plus. We probably will be
Cause
because
you
of
had the
the,
money from the county, which was 200,000, which is.
100,000 in ESER one and 490 some thousand.
Yeah, so
I'm
it's
just
gonna be
saying,
above that
it
already,
was like.
not even talking to food monies and all that.
So you need a motion, Troy?
I don't necessarily need a motion, I guess, but I just need a consensus
It
to go
sounds
ahead
like
and
it's
use
what we need to do, yeah,
Varney this year.
I don't think we have a choice.
yeah, it sounds good.
Unless
Cat said,
Cat's gonna
Cat
come down
didn't wanna
to
do it,
that.
so.
Cat, you gonna do it?
Not it.
Pro gratis. Okay, we're on the negotiations. You have
Yeah.
more stuff
No,
before that?
we're done.
Am I missing anything?
No, I don't think so. We're ready for executive session.
So I would make a motion, and we've had some discussions on this, so I'm gonna read this motion differently. With some of the other board members have asked for me to word something different, so I'm gonna word it that way. We can go from there, but I would make a motion, we go into executive session to discuss negotiation topics pursuant to the exception for employee negotiations under comma, and the open meeting resume in the boardroom at 9:05 with the superintendent to be present.
Second I.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Alright, we're back in open session. I would make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss confidential personnel matters pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA. And the open meeting will resume at 9:16, so a period of 10 minutes with the superintendent present, and I will excuse myself from this meeting.
Second time.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're back in open session. I move we go into executive session to discuss confidential personnel matters pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 9:25
Second time
Aye.
with the
with the
superintendent present. Aye.
Now we're back in open session, we got anything else?
I move we adjourn.
Second,
Aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
aye.
Aye.